Modern medicine says you need regular checkups, expensive screenings, and a stable income to reach 100 years old. Yet in remote villages across southern China, some of the poorest people on earth are quietly outliving billionaires. No insurance, no hospitals nearby, no prescription drugs. What do these elderly villagers know that Western longevity researchers are still trying to figure out? The answer lives in a place called Bama County, tucked into the limestone mountains of Guangxi Province. This region has 7 times the global average of people over 100. For every 100,000 residents, you will find roughly 30 centenarians. The world average is closer to 7, and here is the part that makes researchers uncomfortable. These villagers earn less than $200 a month. Most have never seen a doctor in their lives. Some cannot read, yet they are walking around at 102 years old, planting rice, carrying firewood, and laughing at people half their age who complain about their backs. Western scientists have been flying into Bama since the 1980s, taking blood samples, measuring telomeres, and studying diets. What they keep finding contradicts almost everything modern medicine sells us. Let us break down what these people actually do. The first thing you notice about Bama villages is the lack of transportation. There is none. Cars cannot physically reach most of these settlements because the roads are too narrow, too steep, or simply do not exist. So people walk everywhere, to the rice field, to the next village, to the market that happens twice a month. A typical elderly resident here logs between 10,000 and 15,000 steps a day without thinking about it, not because they downloaded a fitness app, because their bowl of rice depends on it. This movement has a name in physiology. It is called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Basically, all the calories you burn doing normal life stuff that is not structured exercise. And here is what is wild. NEAT can vary by up to 2,000 calories per day between people. A Bama farmer at 90 burns more NEAT calories than a Western office worker in their 30s. Their metabolism never really slows down because their body never gets the signal to slow. Compare this to the typical American senior who averages around 2,500 steps a day. That is like comparing a marathon runner to someone watching television. The difference is not just calories burned, it is circulation, joint mobility, bone density, balance, and most importantly, the brain. Walking increases blood flow to the hippocampus, the part of your brain that handles memory. Bama centenarians have remarkably preserved cognitive function compared to seniors in cities. They walk into the field at 95, identify which rice plants are ready for harvest, and walk home with a basket on their head. The walking also happens on uneven terrain, mountain paths, muddy rice paddies, rocky stream crossings. This constant microbalancing trains the small stabilizer muscles in the hips and ankles that most modern seniors lose entirely. Falls are the leading cause of death for elderly people in Western countries. In Bama, falls are extremely rare because nobody ever stopped practicing balance. Their bodies treat uneven ground as normal, not as a threat. Now you might assume this constant activity means they eat huge meals to fuel it. You would be wrong, and that is the second piece of the puzzle. The average daily calorie intake in Bama villages sits around 1,400 to 1,800 calories. For context, the standard American diet ranges from 2,200 to 3,600 calories. These villagers are eating roughly half of what most of us consume. Not by choice exactly. Food is just genuinely scarce. Rice, sweet potatoes, foraged vegetables, a small piece of pork maybe twice a month if it is a holiday. That is it. That is the menu. What looks like deprivation from the outside is actually doing something remarkable inside their cells. It is called autophagy. When you eat less, your body starts cleaning house. It breaks down old damaged cells and recycles their parts. Think of it like your body's internal recycling program. Western research has spent the last 2 decades proving what these villagers have been doing for centuries. Caloric restriction extends lifespan. In lab studies on mice, rats, and primates, animals eating 30% fewer calories live 30 to 40% longer. The mechanism is real. The Nobel Prize in 2016 went to a Japanese scientist named Yoshinori Ohsumi, who explained exactly how it works. But here is the catch nobody talks about. Voluntary calorie restriction in wealthy societies almost never works long-term. People crack, they binge, they develop eating disorders. The reason it works in Bama is because nobody is calling it a diet. It is just Tuesday. There is no Instagram showing them what they are missing. There is no late-night refrigerator raid because there is barely a refrigerator. Their bodies have adapted to genuine food scarcity over generations, and their digestive systems have become extremely efficient at extracting nutrients from small amounts of food. Their meal timing helps too. Most Bama villagers eat 2 meals a day, sometimes 3 during heavy work seasons. A morning meal after sunrise activity and an evening meal before the sun goes down. That natural intermittent fasting pattern gives the body 12 to 14 hours of fasting every single night. Modern research now confirms this kind of time-restricted eating reduces inflammation, improves insulin sensitivity, and triggers the same cellular repair mechanisms as longer fasts. They never heard of the term. They have just been doing it their entire lives. And the food they do eat has a weird quality that most Westerners would actively avoid. It is covered in dirt. Bama farmers don't wear gloves. They plant rice with bare hands, dig sweet potatoes from the ground, and rinse vegetables in stream water. Researchers studying their gut microbiomes have found something startling. The microbial diversity in a typical Bama villager's intestines is 2 to 3 times higher than that of a typical American or European. Their bodies are essentially walking ecosystems, full of bacteria, fungi, and microorganisms that modern hygiene has wiped out of most of us. This matters more than you would think. About 70% of your immune system lives in your gut. The more diverse your microbiome, the better your immune response. Bama villagers rarely get autoimmune diseases. Conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, multiple sclerosis, and inflammatory bowel disease are almost unheard of in these communities. Allergies are essentially non-existent. Asthma rates are near zero. Childhood eczema, peanut allergies, hay fever. All the conditions exploding across Western countries simply do not exist here. Meanwhile, Western countries have seen autoimmune disease rates triple in the last 50 years. The hygiene hypothesis suggests we have made our environment so clean that our immune systems have nothing to do, so they start attacking our own bodies out of boredom. Bama villagers eat dirt with their dinner. Their immune systems are too busy managing actual microbes to invent new problems. The water they drink plays into this as well. Most Bama villages get their water from mountain springs that flow through limestone deposits. The water is naturally mineral-rich in calcium, magnesium, and trace minerals. It also contains beneficial bacteria from the soil and rock. Western water is purified to the point of being biologically dead. Bama water is alive. Researchers have specifically studied the water composition in Bama and found it shares striking similarities with water in other blue zones, including Hunza Valley and parts of the Caucasus Mountains. The food itself also goes through a transformation most Western meals never see. Almost everything in a Bama kitchen has been fermented. Pickled vegetables, fermented bean pastes, soy products, vinegar-aged eggs, salted greens. Walk into any village home and you will find clay pots tucked into corners, full of ingredients slowly transforming over weeks or months. The villagers do not know the word probiotic, yet they are eating more living bacteria in a single meal than most people in New York consume in a month. Modern science now embraces probiotics. There is an entire supplement industry built around capsules, promising 50 billion colony-forming units of beneficial bacteria. A serving of traditional Chinese fermented vegetables contains roughly 10 billion to 100 billion colony-forming units naturally. Those bacteria arrive packaged with the fiber, vitamins, and minerals they need to actually colonize your gut instead of dying on the way down like most supplements do. Fermented foods also produce short-chain fatty acids during digestion. These compounds reduce inflammation throughout the body, including in the brain. Chronic inflammation is now considered one of the root causes of aging itself. Heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, cancer, all of them share inflammation as a common factor. Bama villagers eat anti-inflammatory food at every single meal without ever thinking about it. The cooking method matters too. Bama food is mostly steamed, boiled, or eaten raw. Deep frying barely exists. Charred meats are rare, so they are avoiding the advanced glycation end products and oxidized oils that make Western diets so inflammatory. Their cholesterol levels are remarkably low, and their blood pressure stays stable into old age. Heart disease in Bama is less than 1/3 of the rate seen in industrialized Asian cities like Shanghai or Beijing. But diet and movement are only part of the equation. There is something else going on in these villages that has nothing to do with food. It is how they think about death. In most Bama villages, elderly residents start saving for their own coffin at around age 60, not in a morbid way, in a practical way. They want to make sure their family is not burdened with funeral costs, so they put aside a little money each year, buy a coffin while they are still healthy, and store it in their house. Sometimes for decades, some villagers have had their coffins sitting in the corner of their bedroom for 30 or 40 years. Western visitors find this disturbing. Local researchers have started studying why it actually works in their favor. There is growing evidence that acceptance of death reduces cortisol levels, the chronic stress hormone that wreaks havoc on the body. People who fear death constantly have higher rates of cardiovascular disease, depression, and immune dysfunction. Bama villagers do not fear death because they have made peace with it. Literally, they have built a wooden box for it. This mindset extends to how they handle illness and aging. When something hurts, they accept that bodies sometimes hurt. When a friend dies, they grieve and move on. There is no obsession with extending life through aggressive medical intervention, no fear-based supplement stacks, no anti-aging skincare routines, just a quiet acknowledgement that being alive at 90 is a gift, and being dead someday is the natural conclusion of being born. Compare this to the average Western 70-year-old who might be on 8 different prescription medications, watching cable news that keeps them in a constant low-level panic, and terrified of every new ache. The mental load alone is exhausting, and exhaustion ages you faster than almost anything else. Now here is something Bama villagers do that even most early rising Westerners cannot match. They are awake at 4 in the morning, not because they have to be, because they want to be. The pre-dawn hours are when villages come alive. People stretch in courtyards, walk to the fields with lanterns, gather to gossip, and drink hot water before the sun rises. By the time the first light hits the mountains, they have already moved their bodies for an hour. This is not just tradition. It is deeply aligned with how human biology actually works. Your circadian rhythm, the internal clock that regulates sleep, hormones, digestion, and cellular repair, depends on exposure to natural light. The first hour of sunlight in the morning is the most important signal your body uses to calibrate this clock. Modern humans miss it almost entirely. We wake up to artificial light, eat breakfast under fluorescent bulbs, and do not see real sunlight until lunch, if then. Bama villagers get full-spectrum morning light directly into their eyes every single day. This regulates melatonin production at night, cortisol patterns during the day, and serotonin levels that affect mood. Sleep quality improves, energy stabilizes, depression rates plummet. Researchers studying this population have found that elderly residents fall asleep within 10 minutes of lying down and sleep 7 to 9 uninterrupted hours. Insomnia is rare. Sleep medications do not exist here. And there is the vitamin D factor. Most Western seniors are clinically deficient in vitamin D, which contributes to bone fractures, immune problems, and depression. Bama centenarians get direct sun exposure for hours every day. Their vitamin D levels are typically twice what you would find in an American senior. Their bone density at age 95 is comparable to a Westerner at age 65. The community structure that gets them out of bed is another piece nobody can replicate easily, and it might be the most important one. There are no nursing homes in Bama. There are no retirement villages. There is no concept of being shipped off to a facility when you get old. The elderly live with their adult children, grandchildren, and often great-grandchildren under one roof. 4 generations sleeping in the same compound is normal. Daily life involves constant interaction across age groups. A 95-year-old grandmother might spend her morning teaching her great-grandson how to identify wild herbs in the forest. This kind of social structure does something measurable to the human body. Loneliness, according to recent research, is as damaging to long-term health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Chronic isolation increases the risk of heart disease, stroke, dementia, and early death. About 30% of American seniors live alone. In Bama, that number is essentially zero. But it is not just about company. It is about purpose. A 90-year-old in a Western nursing home often has no role. Their job is to wait. In Bama, that same 90-year-old has responsibilities, watching the children, teaching food preparation, sharing stories about ancestors, mediating family disputes. The respect afforded to elders in Chinese village culture means they remain useful and valued until the day they die. And usefulness, it turns out, is medicine. Studies on blue zones around the world, regions with unusually high concentrations of centenarians, consistently find this same pattern. Sardinia, Okinawa, Ikaria, Nicoya all have strong intergenerational living and clear roles for the elderly. Loma Linda is the only exception, and that is because of the Seventh-day Adventist religious community filling the same function. There is also a cultural element specific to Bama that researchers find fascinating. The villagers sing a lot. Traditional folk songs are part of daily life. Wedding songs, harvest songs, funeral songs, courtship songs. Group singing has been shown in modern studies to release endorphins, reduce stress hormones, and improve lung capacity. Bama elders sing well into their 90s and even past 100, often leading the community in traditional pieces that have not changed in centuries. Their lung function reflects this. Many centenarians here have vital lung capacities that would be respectable in someone half their age. Now, this is where Bama villagers have an edge. Even other blue zones do not share. They forage their own medicine. The mountains around Bama are full of wild plants that have been used medicinally for over 1,000 years. Villagers know which herbs treat headaches, which leaves reduce fevers, which roots help with digestion, and which bark calms anxiety. This knowledge passes from grandmother to granddaughter the way Westerners pass down recipes. Most of these plants are loaded with polyphenols, antioxidants that protect cells from damage. Bitter foods make up a huge portion of the rural Chinese diet, such as bitter melon, dandelion greens, wild gourd, and mugwort. Bitter compounds in plants are actually defense chemicals that the plant produces to discourage insects from eating them. When humans consume small amounts of these compounds, they trigger beneficial stress responses in our cells. It is called hormesis. A little bit of poison makes you stronger. Most modern Western diets have been completely stripped of bitter flavors. We have bred sweetness into fruits and vegetables and removed the parts of plants that taste challenging. Bama villagers eat bitter every day. Their cells stay primed and ready to handle stress because they are constantly being mildly challenged. The way they hydrate is also wildly different from Western habits. Cold beverages are basically absent in rural Chinese villages. Everything is hot. Water is boiled and drunk warm. Tea is consumed throughout the day. The traditional belief is that cold drinks shock the system and slow digestion. Modern research has supported parts of this. Warm liquids improve blood circulation, ease digestion, And gentle hydration is more effective than chugging cold water occasionally. The constant tea drinking adds another layer. Green tea contains compounds called catechins that have been linked to reduced cancer rates, lower cardiovascular disease, and improved metabolic health. The average Bama elder drinks 6 to 10 cups of green or herbal tea per day. That is a steady drip of antioxidants flowing through their bloodstream from morning until night. But beyond all of this, there is one more habit that ties everything together. It is the one thing modern retirement culture has gotten completely backwards. Bama villagers never retire. The concept does not exist. There is no age at which you stop being useful. There are no golden years where you sit on a porch and watch television. A 102-year-old grandmother still gets up before dawn, sweeps her courtyard, feeds the chickens, and helps prepare meals. She moves slower than she did at 50, but she moves constantly. Modern medicine has only recently caught up to what these villagers have always known. The human body is designed for continuous use. When you stop moving, you start dying. Western retirees often experience a sharp decline within 2 to 3 years of stopping work. The structure disappears, the purpose disappears, the social network shrinks, and the body follows. In Bama, work is gentle but constant. Nobody is running marathons. Nobody is lifting heavy weights. But everyone is contributing something every day until the day they cannot get out of bed. And that day usually comes very close to the actual end. Bama centenarians typically do not experience long, drawn-out declines. They work, they slow down a little, and then they die peacefully in their sleep at 100 or 105. Researchers call this the compression of morbidity. Sick for a few weeks, not sick for a decade. Compare this to the Western model. Retire at 65, get sick at 70, spend 15 years bouncing between hospitals and rehabilitation facilities, die at 85. More years lived, but a much higher percentage of those years spent suffering. Bama villagers live fewer total years on average, but most of those years are healthy, active, and connected. Which would you actually want? There's one more piece worth mentioning, and it's the part that probably matters most. Bama villagers laugh constantly. Visitors consistently describe these communities as joyful places. Old men sit together telling jokes that have been told for 60 years. Old women tease each other about old boyfriends. Children climb on grandparents who pretend to be annoyed. The default emotional state isn't stress or fear. It's contentment, punctuated by frequent laughter. Research on laughter and longevity is still developing, but the existing studies are striking. Laughter reduces stress hormones, improves immune function, increases pain tolerance, and even improves cardiovascular health by 20% in some studies. Bama villagers laugh more in a typical week than most modern adults laugh in a month. That's not a small thing. It might be the secret ingredient that makes everything else work. So what have we learned from these supposedly poor villagers? Their longevity isn't a mystery, and it isn't magic. It's the absence of everything modern life has piled onto us. No processed food, no chronic stress, no isolation from family, no artificial light flooding their eyes at midnight. They don't fear death. They don't sit still for 12 hours a day. They don't live in sterile boxes, and nobody hands them a bag of pills every morning. They walk because they have to. They eat less because there isn't more. They sleep with the sun because they don't have electricity. They live with their families because there's nowhere else to go. They accept death because they see it every season in the rice fields. And by some accident of geography and tradition, they've stumbled onto the longest health span to lifespan ratio on Earth. The most interesting part is that almost none of this requires money. The longevity industry sells us $200 bottles of NAD supplements, $5,000 cold plunges, and $50,000 full-body MRIs. The Bama villagers spend nothing. They just live the way humans have lived for most of history before we got so clever about everything. Maybe they're not living to 100 despite being poor. Maybe they're living to 100 because they never got rich.